Dr. Jeffrey Rothstein from the Robert Packard Center for ALS Research at Johns Hopkins. Dr. Rothstein, first of all, thank you for your time.
It's my pleasure.
How long have you been involved in ALS research?
About 40 years, since I came to Johns Hopkins 40 years ago.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, tell us about the center itself.
So the Packard Center was set up separate from typical government agencies. We rely on philanthropy, and we fund essentially the leading researchers, not just at Hopkins, but around the world. And the idea is to develop research around what's causing ALS, use that as a foundation to find drugs.
Now, ALS, I found out about it personally maybe close to 15 years ago. A friend of mine, Randy Gregory, was diagnosed, and of course, people know over a year ago my mom was. Tell us about this disease.
So ALS affects adults more often than children or teenagers. It's always a progressive disease. It affects arm muscles, leg muscles, and the reason it's unfortunately always fatal is because it affects breathing muscles and swallowing muscles. It's a rare set of cells in the brain that control your muscles, your brain and your spinal cord, and they begin to die off. As humans, unlike salamanders, we don't replace those cells, so when they die, they're gone. So the idea of therapy is to prevent them from dying and to understand what starts the process off. There are clinics, both at Hopkins, really around the world, that are there to support patients, but also to give them these experimental drugs that we develop.
Are there any symptoms or signs maybe that people, or is it kind of so vague?
Well, it is, by the time I see patients, it's not vague. But it started off pretty common. A little hand weakness, often referred to as carpal tunnel. A little weakness, a golfer trips and falls, thinks it's the fall that did it. It takes about a year to make a diagnosis because at the beginning, it really is so common in terms of the kind of weakness we get as adults. But then it progresses, and you end up going from physician to physician until you get to a center like Hopkins or other major centers.
I remember that now. I personal experience, folks. I had no answers, and you guys came in, Laura and Meg and yourself came in and swooped right in. So you guys are legit. I want to say that right now in front of everybody. You guys are legit, and it's such a passion. It's not just a job. I found it, if you ought to be a passion, my concerns became your concerns.
Yeah, well, that's necessary. It's a terrible disease. One of the things I've learned over the years, after 40 years, it's not just what we do in terms of the clinic and the therapy. It's actually who comes in to see us. I see remarkable ability for people to tolerate such a horrible disease because of family. Family plays an enormous role in dealing with the disease. Won't take away the diagnosis, but it helps one manage it.
What are some ways they can manage it?
Well, one, make sure you're at a good clinic. And we have 2 big clinics at Hopkins that deal with it. Maryland has a clinic as well. The regions have clinics. And part of that is making sure you're followed regularly, typically about every 3 months. We pay attention to, as you get weak, they're just practical things we can help you with.
Right.
We can't take the diagnosis away, but we can help you deal with it. And then, of course, in the rare subset of patients who inherit the disease, about 10% of the disease is inherited. There we've developed, in part through the Packard Center, very, very powerful therapies that can slow the disease down, and actually people get better.
Now, you said funding. How do you get funding for this?
Yeah, it's a good point. Most of medical funding in the United States, of course, is through our government. Troubled times right now, I'll point out. But this is jump-starting research, and that's philanthropy. That's people donating money to Packard and other like organizations to really jump-start the research. So it's all based on donations.
Thank you, sir, very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.